Hey guys, what's up? It's Alex or Nuznuz here, and today we're going to take a look at a simple question. Should Jagex release another new skill into RuneScape 3? Or should they rework some of the current skills? So I recently ran a poll on my channel asking what you wanted to see more of in RuneScape 3, and we ended up having almost 10,000 votes, and most of you said you wanted to see more skills, which actually really surprised me, as I thought something like new bosses would end up winning this poll. But there was a ton of conversation in the comments of that poll on if Jagex should actually release a new skill entirely, or if they should go back and try to rework and reconfigure the current skills and breathe life into some of them. So what is the best option for this, and what are the possible new skills or reworks that could happen? We're going to get into those, but first let's get into a little bit of the history of RuneScape skill releases. Jagex does not release new skills that often, and usually it's a huge deal when they do get released. In 2006, Jagex released the construction skill and then proceeded to release the hunter skill in the same year. Now after this, 2 years passed, and we then ended up having the release of the summoning skill, which was a very new and interesting skill for RuneScape at the time that ended up changing a lot of things when it comes to bossing or even skilling. Now after this, 2 years later, we had Dungeoneering released in 2010, which released new and exciting weapons like chaotics and other upgrades. After this, 3 years later in 2013, we had Divination, which was released as the first skill released during the EOC era. And then in 2016, we had a skill called Invention released, which ended up shaping EOC and providing you with the ability to perk your weapons and armor, and forever changed PvM and the way we go about it, becoming the first and only elite skill in RuneScape thus far. Then of course, the latest skill released into RuneScape, Archaeology, was released 4 years later in March of 2020, creating a vast and expansive skill that provided mysteries, new PvM relics, and a lot of depth beyond any other skill in the past. Between August of 2013 and March of 2020, there were 3 new skills released in RuneScape, and on average, Jagex seems to release a new skill every 3 or 4 years. Right now, we are about to come up on Archaeology's 2-year anniversary, which means in the next year or 2, we could see a new skill from Jagex. But should we? While new skills are nice, what could possibly be left for Jagex to create as a new skill? I know a lot of people have actually mentioned sailing, as it was something that was made as an April Fool's joke on old school RuneScape. But then a year later, after the April Fool's joke, it was made into a full dev blog that was actually pulled and shown as a trailer as a new skill to be added to old school RuneScape, but ultimately ended up failing to pass the poll threshold. Thus, it was never released. Many players have speculated or toyed with the idea of bringing a skill like sailing to RuneScape 3 as a complete new skill, but is that what actually should happen? If sailing was brought as a new skill into RuneScape 3, I personally would hope it would be an elite skill. What is an elite skill, you might ask? Well, as of now, there is only actually one elite skill that exists in RuneScape 3, and that is the Invention skill. An elite skill is defined by having 2 or more regular skills needed to be at a certain level to begin training that elite skill. For instance, Invention requires level 80 smithing, crafting, and divination before you're able to start training it. So if a new skill is proposed, I think it would be fitting to make it the next elite skill and combine the use of many other skills. For instance, something like sailing could involve like construction, fishing, archaeology, or some sort of mix like that. But should we actually get another skill? Well, many people, including myself, are of the mindset that some skills should be overhauled or expanded on, some skills that exist today that have kind of become either, not used as much or just need updated. These skills could be updated, overhauled, or expanded to level 120 like what was done with farming and herblore. Something like construction is a skill that seems like it has almost no uses in the current game. Sure, they added construction contracts and different ways days to train, but actual uses for the skill are very, very small nowadays, and that's kind of a shame, I feel, because in a game like old school RuneScape, the player-owned houses is a very important aspect, whether it be for skilling, teleporting around the game, for use with PvM, and even with PvP. But in RuneScape 3, this is just not the case for construction. Reworking construction as a skill could be a huge benefit to breathe life back into a skill that basically has no use. I think it might be a little more difficult than people think, just because when I think of construction and how it could be, made better, I kind of thought of like the PvM hub kinda, with buffs like the bonfire and things like that creatable in your house, so your house kind of becomes your own PvM hub. But now that we have the PvM hub, it seems like it might make the house kind of hard to justify to be the place, for getting PvM buffs and stuff like that, because the PvM hub is so good. So they may have to go in a different direction than just strictly adding benefits for PvM in your player-owned house, but I think they can definitely do some stuff to expand upon construction, just like they expanded upon farming with the player-owned farms. I think there could be something really interesting they could do with construction as well. So reworking a skill like this might be the best option rather than just going and adding one. With the expansion of skills like herblore and farming going to level 120, we already are in a place kind of in the game where 120 skills are kind of the new normal for the max level. When in the past, the normal thing for skilling was trying to achieve that level 99, it has undoubtedly switched to level 120 now as that threshold. Like I said previously, skills like farming, herblore, and even slayer expanded to 120, it would make sense for much more skills to follow. Especially that 120 is kind of the new threshold. Skills like construction could be totally brought back to life, and it could really breathe life into skills and create new and engaging content out of the old skills that aren't really relevant anymore. For instance, the hunter rework is a great example of this, on how a new rework skill along with something like big game hunter kind of brought the skill completely back to life with new content that felt fresh and fun while also reworking something else, and they didn't even bring that skill up to a 120 skill. A lot of the older skills could use something like this, because a lot of them, let's be honest, feel old, outdated, or just out of place, which I think this is personally a better option than releasing a whole new skill entirely, at least right now. While I do think there could be new elite skills, and it's kind of weird that Jagex released an elite skill in Invention, but then there has never been another elite skill to follow, I think maybe they could do something with this for the next skill. I do think if they do release another skill, it should be an elite skill. But the rework for skills is really where I think Jagex can really shine and kind of revamp those old skills, but also bring us like good updates that aren't just creating new content, but building on previous content. What do you guys think? Would you rather see a new skill, like an elite skill? Maybe it's not sailing, that was just an example, but something new like archaeology was come in the next year or two? Or would you rather see them focus on revamping those old skills, maybe like construction, like crafting, skills that feel outdated, and making new content with them, maybe increasing the skill to being level 120 as a cap like they did for farming and herblore, or revamping them entirely like they did with mining and smithing and the hunter rework? What do you guys think? I'd love to know below. I think this is a really cool conversation to have, and I'm interested to see, what you guys think. Seems like a lot of people have a lot of opinions on it, so let me know below. As always, if you enjoyed this video and this conversation, make sure to leave a like and it'll get the video out to more people. And if you want more content like this, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss another video. And I'll see you guys soon with a really awesome video in the next few days. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.